Hey there, friends. My name is Paul DeBettignies, also known as Minnesota Headhunter, and welcome to my first, as in debut, episode 1 of What You Should Know. I'm dedicating this to a couple of friends. Kathy Grayson, formerly of the Business Journal, now Senior Communications Specialist. She's got a really long title. She's at Medtronic. And Casey Allen, my longtime friend, my brother from another mother, who is a longtime tech entrepreneur, advisor to startups, and the founder of Enterprise Rising. We did the podcast, MSP On Deck podcast. I don't know, was that a couple of years? We did the podcast with Kathy's new job, some of the stuff that Casey was working on, as well as the addition of his beautiful young daughter, baby daughter. We had to end the podcast. Also dedication to Kurt Schmidt, president of Foundry, who sent me an email, or I guess a text a couple of months ago with an idea that has kind of born into this. Also, there was a threat of bodily violence within 90 days if I didn't do it. So I thought it would be a really good idea. I probably should take him up on it. We had a conversation last week scheduled for 30 minutes. Then he rescheduled it for 60 minutes, knowing we were going to go long, and then it went over 2 hours. One part life conversation, what's going on in the tech community, how's Foundry doing, how am I doing? And he says, again, he kind of said, like, I should probably do this. So here I am, episode 1, here we go. The idea behind this is we're going to talk about my view of what's going on in the Minnesota tech scene, startups, recruiter, job search related, kind of all at once. So if you're in that space, I'm going to do this on a weekly basis, even though it says the 14th and today's the 15th. I was off a day. I really was taking Kurt up on the idea of like, why am I going to wait? Also, it's Twin City Startup Week /month. We'll talk more about that in a moment. So that's how we got here. It's just going to be this. I don't know how long these things are going to last. Is it 10 minutes, 20 minutes? I don't really know. We're going to find out together. But every Monday going forward, I'm going to have a new episode. Some quick information about me for those of you who don't know. I've been recruiting for 20 plus years in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Different titles I've used. I've been interim director of recruiting, senior recruiter, senior people operations consultant. If I'm into building teams, usually focused on tech, product, data, digital design, security, and then also helping companies in a broader way of like source, recruit, hire, employer branding, employer process, recruiting process and strategy, and then being an advocate or evangelist for them in the technology and Minnesota business scene. I've been writing the Minnesota Headhunter blog for, 15 years now. Do some speaking on topics, active in the community, and also kicking up my Minnesota Talent Leaders speaker conference series. Not exactly sure how it's going to go. We're all doing things online now, at least for a while yet. We're going to have a first event in October. More to come on that later. So here's the idea. If I was at Twin City Startup Week, even though it's a month, right? We're doing it Tuesdays and Thursdays. We now are into week 2, day 1. It's Tuesday as I'm recording this. I was thinking about all the things that I was going to be asked during this time, right? And it was going to be like, what's going on in the economy and who's hiring and who's laying off and all those things. So essentially, I'm dedicating episode number 1 to Twin City Startup Week. Here are the things I would have been speaking about if we were doing this in person. For starters, if you don't know what Twin City Startup Week is, I don't know, was this year 5, 6? I'm losing track of time. Last year, there were 15-some thousand people who attended 150-some events. It is now, last I heard, or at least through last year, right, was the largest startup event in Startup Week in the country. And so it's always nice to be able to promote what's going on. Huge shout out to Casey and her team at Beta and the sponsors for putting this on. It's different. We're all kind of getting used to it. Again, I've been learning enough, lots of sessions. I have a couple of observations to share with you. One is the Twitter stream's pretty quiet. If we were doing this in person, right? And by the way, I'm guilty of this too. If I was attending an event, I would have been taking photos of the panels and myself with someone who I hadn't seen in a while and a slide of a presentation deck. And I haven't been doing that. I did it once last week, so I'm going to get a little more active. I suggest you do it too. Use the hashtag TCSW20, so Twin City Startup Week 20. Use the hashtag. Take screenshots, or even if it's just taking photos of your laptop and promoting the speakers and the content that's going on in town. The second one, it's a mini rant. I'm going to try not to go rant for very long. Here's the idea. No one's talking about their hiring. So like the recruiter reptilian brain of mine's freaking out. You can already tell I'm animated, my voice is rising, and so is the tone of my voice. I think it's freaking stupid that if you're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're hiring, you're in the tech startup space, and you're not saying you're hiring is silly. It's freaking insane. We're not able to do this in person. You're not able to be at that event. You're not going to be at the Minnesota Cup. You're not going to be at the Beta MN event. It's okay now and again in a chat screen on Zoom, right, to be able to say, hey, I work at XYZ Inc. and we're growing our team. If you or someone you know is hiring, or you or someone you know is looking for a new job or going to be, like, check us out. Like, don't spam the Zoom chats, right? Maybe not do it for everyone, but for the appropriate ones for sure, and for sure be doing it on Twitter. I have a long rant. I'm going to stop it there. Let's just say that I think that we're missing, you all who are hiring in town are missing an amazing opportunity to be reaching out to people and letting them know that you're hiring. End of rant. It's long. I'm going to stop it there. Again, this being the first one, I want to warm some of you folks up to what you might be expecting over the coming weeks and months, because I can get real opinionated, I can get long-winded, tangent, squirrel moments. Just as a heads up. If we're a Twin City Startup Week and we're at an event, most people are asking me, like, Paul, what do you think about the economy? Like, what's my version? What do I think I see? When all of this started happening back February, March, I've been actually working on this since the middle of January when companies first started saying to me, hey, Paul, if this COVID thing, because that's what it was back then, it's the COVID thing, if this virus thing makes it to the States, like, what's going to happen? And so I started having conversations with people in the second or third week of January. So I'm 8 months in. Most people are saying that they're 7 or 6 months in. I've got a couple of months on y'all. Here's the idea is that in the beginning, it was like, what's the economy? What's the recovery going to be like? Right? V-shape, come down fast, go back fast. There was the idea of the U-shape, come down fast, stay at the bottom for a while, come back up pretty quick. That was sort of the prevalent theory back then. There was the W. Notice how they're all letters, right? By the way, where do I get this information from? I call myself I suggest I have a PhD in armchair economics from CNBC and Bloomberg. The W, right? Come down fast, come back a little bit, go back down, come back. So either the head fake, the double dip recession, whatever that is. The L, which is actually a hockey stick, right? You're there for a while, and then you slowly come up. The Nike swoosh, got that one from Casey Allen, previously mentioned. He's like, no, it's going to be a bit of a flatter recovery. The square root, that's where I'm at, by the way. Currently, come down, come back up, and it's going to lay flat for a while. I think we're still coming up. I don't think we're flat. Maybe we are. I don't know. But that's how it feels to me. The letter K got introduced a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember where I heard it from, right? Stock market's going up, but the economy isn't for the average person. And so those are sort of all the varieties. And so where I'm at is I'm sort of in the square root idea. Come down fast, come back. We're going to plateau. I'm looking at job numbers. I'm looking at having conversations with people in the technology and business community. That's just where I'm at. You can agree, disagree. We all look, politics, health outcomes. We've all got opinions. I'm just giving you mine. Do I think that we're going to be here for a while? Yes. I think later on today, there's going to be a Fed survey coming out with some numbers that will be updated, and I'll certainly bring those up next week. Another data point for you is this graph. So I've been posting Minnesota recruiter jobs on my site going back 10 plus years now. The idea is that I've been tracking it, and I noticed in the spring of 18, that's the gray, light gray color, there was a serious uptick in recruiter jobs being posted in the spring. April, it stayed May, June, and then the rest of the summer kind of took off into the fall. That carried into 2019, all of last year. There was a bit of a slowdown in the economy last year. Usually, right, jobs are a lagging economic indicator. In this case, recruiter jobs, HR jobs, tend to be a leading economic. So where the regular jobs are lagging, recruiter HR jobs tend to be leading. The idea is if you're not going to be hiring anyone, you don't need to hire a recruiter, or worse, right? We saw this spring, the recruiter and HR folks were the first ones to let go at a lot of companies. So last summer, right, there was a bit of a slowdown, and then there was a freak out, and that stayed. We started strong 2020. So January, February, of course, then you see March, that's in black, cratering in April. It actually cratered second week in March. It's just there were a lot of, I think I posted nearly 20 jobs the first week in March. By the last week in March, it was 7 or 8. There were a couple of times in April when I only posted 2, 3. We are now seeing an uptick coming back. My prediction, my thought is, and I'm going to do a Q4 hiring, like what I think is going to be happening. Similar to what I did on the MSP on Deck podcast with Kathy and Casey back in the day. I think that we're going to see a flattening of these recruiter jobs. Again, a flattening of, again, that square root, right? A flattening of hiring. So I think we've seen the bottom. I think we're either at the bottom, we've bounced off the bottom. I don't think that we've seen a big recovery. Now, a lot of this depends, right? Who you are, what you do, where you're located, whether you're listening to this here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're in the Midwest, you're across the country. Like everything's going to be different depending on where you are. There's been a huge wait and see idea, right? Both for a lot of us in our personal lives, our professional lives, for CEOs, for investors. Let's wait and see what happens when school starts. Let's wait and see what happens in the fall, particularly north of the Mason-Dixon line where we are here in Minneapolis, right? Like what happens when everyone starts sort of coming back together, right? Because it's going to start chilling down. Although today might be the last 80-degree day. Heads up, when I get done recording this, I'm going outside for a little while. The idea, though, is wait and see. So then we're going to wait and see on the election. We're going to wait and see if there's a vaccine. I think we're going to be flattish for a while. Take that for what it's worth. There was an article 2 or 3 weeks ago in the Star Tribune. Kavita Kumar from the Minneapolis Star Tribune business reporter interviewed a number of us in town. This made my mom happy. So the article she wrote, the first parts of the column appeared on the front page, lower right-hand corner. So below the fold, I wasn't above the fold, but my quote got in there. So I made the front page of the Minneapolis Star Tribune. The idea is that Kavita spoke with a number of us here in town about like what's hiring like, who's going to be hired first, how it's going to all play out. As we get through this here in the blog post below, I'm going to put links to all of these things I'm going to be speaking about, just as a heads up. So, but the idea, this is a fantastic article. She did a sweet job researching, speaking with well-intentioned, thought out, rational people in town about like what's going on. I don't know if I fit in any of those categories or not. I'm gonna say I do for the moment. Layoffs. By the way, yeah, weird tangents. Sometimes my transitions won't be all that hot, just to give you a heads up. This is super Paul, laid back, casual, by the way. This is sort of how I am in general anyway. Layoffs. Here's the idea is I'm concerned. We're coming up to the end of Q3. We're coming up to the end of the calendar year for Q4. The idea is that I'm expecting we're going to start seeing some more layoff announcements. My general prediction, which I'm going to write about later on this week or maybe in time for next week's episode, is that I think we're going to see more hiring. We're also going to see more layoffs, and I think it's going to be extreme. I think it's going to be extreme who's being hired. I think it's going to be more hourly service workers if the health outcomes hold as where they are, don't get much worse. I also think we're going to see more layoffs of those who are making 80 grand, 100 grand more, the traditional, quote, white collar jobs, right? The idea being that I think a lot of companies have been holding on to people as they see the economy is going to square root. If that is the case, or that K, or however that part goes, that they may not need a marketing team of 8 anymore, and they can probably get away with 5 or 6, and we're going to see recruiting teams going from 5 to 3. That's just how I see it. Now, let's be clear. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a glass more than half full type person. My glass currently is being held together by duct tape and crazy glue. I say that for this, right? We had the opening of, say, fitness play. State of Minnesota opened up roughly in the first week of June. You could go back to the gym. Lifetime Fitness lays off 300 people at the end of the month. So right before the end of Q2, right before probably the end of their fiscal year, I'm imagining. The idea was the business wasn't coming back as fast or as they had expected or hoped, and so you got to make some cuts. In the last weeks, I'm trying to think, Medtronic has what has been called a large, but no one said a number yet, layoff, both in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, and across the country. Who else? Medtronic, the Mall of America has let people go. I'm missing a third. 3M let people go, or is letting people go on top of the layoffs they already had announced that they were planning for back in January, the first of the year. And so all of that has me thinking that we're really going to get into a fairly chaotic time. So for all of you, I don't care who you are, what you do, where you're doing it, doesn't matter. If you were to receive an email this Friday that the project you're working on, your job was done, you're being let go, the funding for the project is over, you're being laid off, furloughed, or whatever it is, are you ready? Like, I don't want to be gloom and doom here, but are you ready if the crap hits the fan with your company, with your job? Because generally speaking, everybody's playing wait and see, and they're playing wait and see on their career maintenance too. I'm making a pitch to be able to do my IT career maintenance presentation next month at Mini Bar, also virtual. We'll note that a little bit later on. The idea is, I keep hitting the button, sorry. The idea is that alternative to this as well. This is also a really good time for a lot of people to be finding jobs. As companies start reimagining, rethinking about how they're going to be hiring for the rest of the year, 2021, what are they going to need? Do this also. If you were to receive an email Friday from someone like me saying, my client, the startup, the tech company I'm working with is looking for you, would you be ready? Like, is your LinkedIn profile up to date? Do you have a resume ready? Do you have you maintained quarterly updates for yourself in a document, Google Doc, a Word document, whatever it is? Do you know what you've been working on this year? Do you have stats, statistics, and numbers where you could be ready for a phone screen on Monday? So here's the thing. Whether it's being proactive or reactive, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an hourly worker in retail. I don't care if you're a CFO. I don't care if you're anywhere in between. If you're listening to this, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to suggest to you that this is something that you need to be thinking about now. Again, there can be a long rant to go along with this that I'll skip for now. But I don't think people are ready, both for what could happen in the good way or in the bad way. We're not ready. As a part of this, I fired up my Be Your Own Headhunter presentations back in the beginning of July. I now have sessions on doing a job, like you've been let go, laid off, furloughed. It's a job search for all presentation. There's one specific to technology folks or those in the tech space. And then, so those are the two, furloughed, laid off, actively looking for a job right now. There's also a third, which is one I was going to start doing in 2020 anyway, and I'm doing them now, which is you want to do a proactive job search, be it the rest of this year into 2021. How would you do a job search? How would you plan it out? The links will be below. There are fees for these. There are also suggested, recommended. Look, pay what you can if you can, and if you can't, that's cool. The idea is this, though. This is a huge focus of mine right now, that I think that we all need to be paying attention to our career. You would go get your oil change if you had to. You would fix your roof if you had to. You would go to the doctor for your annual physical if it was that time. Maybe not so much the dudes, because we're a little bit slow on that stuff. By the way, if we were in a room, funny laughter, right? But we're not taking care of the thing that pays for all of those things. And so this is me amping up that part of my game. So again, fees are optional, but the content's fantastic. And I don't mean that. The feedback has been really, really good. Taking a shift to who's hiring in Minnesota. So had that conversation with Kurt Schmidt, president of Foundry, mentioned that at the beginning. They've hired a number of people this summer, both software engineers, I think a product manager. I think they promoted someone internally. They are now a company that's in the mid upper 20s. So they've been growing this year. The business has been fantastic. I'm not surprised. I love that team. They're a former client of mine. I'm hoping Kurt's going to one day say, hey, Paul, can you come lend us a hand again? I don't know why I keep hitting this button, by the way. I love them. They're fantastic folks. When I Work, you may remember, is the recession, shutdown, pandemic, economy thing, whatever you want to call it, happened. There was an announcement that When I Work let 30% of the folks go. Again, worked with When I Work back in 2015, 16. Love Chad Helverson, the CEO. I'll talk more about that in a second. I loved working with them. They're fantastic what they do. They took a hit. I don't know if anybody knows this yet or not, but When I Work is back hiring. So if you go to, again, the links will be below. If you go to the When I Work career page, they're hiring, at least as I remember it now from last week, like an engineering manager, some non-tech roles. For my recruiter and HR friends, Leanne Belsky, I don't remember Leanne's title, VP of HR, VP of People Operations. She's fantastic. Looking for, I think the title was something like recruiting coordinator and, recruiting coordinator, like a people operations type person. If you're looking for a role like that, I strongly recommend going and checking that out. I'm looking at notes. Chad Halverson, there was also some news, right? Chad Halverson has stepped aside from being the CEO of When I Work, is now the Chief Experience Officer, and they hired Martin. Oh, I can't even read my own writing. Hertzhorn. Sorry, friends at When I Work, Chad and Martin. So a new CEO started this summer. If I remember right, he was in Toronto and now has come to Minneapolis, St. Paul. Sezel, They were a part of that article, the Star Tribune article I mentioned earlier. They had an IPO late last year. They've raised another 50-some million dollars in the last couple of months. They are in the process of hiring 30-some software engineers and also like other non-engineering tech roles. So again, while my focus is mostly on tech, product, digital design, data hiring, this is an opportunity too that if you want to work with a company that's growing at a really quick speed, check them out. Arctic Wolf Networks, right, headquartered in the Bay Area, and they are hiring. I don't know if I saw the number right or not, but Kristen Dean, I think her title is VP of People Operations. I don't do well with titles if you haven't noticed. I think they're hiring. It's expanding fast. I think the LinkedIn note said 200 people over a period of time. Let's just say they're hiring. Again, note below. Better Use, looking for a developer. Smart Things has been hiring. My friends at Total Expert, who I was with last fall, early winter, also have been hiring at a slightly slower pace, but they're still growing their tech product teams. I think there's 9-some roles posted on the career page today. Just as I started doing this, I saw a note that they also hired a chief marketing officer, a CMO. That was announced today. I haven't looked into that one yet, but just as a heads up. The Total Expert business, I love them. Joe Bellew, the CEO, Anna Klombe's her chief human resources officer, senior vice president, people operations, whatever it is. Her title is Deanna Swanson, the VP of People Operations. I love and miss that team. I mean that in a good way. I love working with them, with those folks. I have SPS Commerce and CH Robinson below. Both of them, to some degree or a full degree, had a hiring freeze. SPS Commerce has started hiring. CH Robinson has started posting more jobs on their career page. They also were looking for a principal recruiter a month or so ago. So again, leading economic indicator. If you're hiring a principal recruiter, odds are you're going to start hiring again. And so those are all bits of good news of who's hiring in Minnesota. Had I done this yesterday, this would be more timely. Today, right now, is the Minneapolis Professional Diversity Virtual Career Fair. I don't know why more companies aren't participating in this. I think it's lost opportunities for not. This is the opinionated side of me coming out again. We keep on saying that we need to start hiring people who look more like our customers or who our customers look like. So people of color, women, I'm going to stop. My Minnesota talent leaders, it's going to be one of the first two topics we're going to be covering is people of color hiring, diversity. I'll just leave that for there. I don't want to give that one away yet. And two is I'm afraid that whatever I'm about to say is going to come out not well. All I'm saying is if you are hiring in town, and I grant that this is a day late, by the way, it's probably 2 weeks late. This is why I'm going to start doing this going forward on a weekly basis, that this is something you should be participating in. And by the way, how are there only 40 companies? I'll leave it there. Also this week, Amazon, I believe it's tomorrow, the 16th. I think it's Wednesday. Amazon's doing a virtual career fair across the country or globe, I suppose. They are on a massive hiring spree in all roles within the company. So again, if you're doing a job search or you're thinking of proactively doing something, you want to think about working for Amazon Q4 or in Q1 of 2021, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to reach out to those folks. Also in the last few weeks, there have been 2 major announcements, both Best Buy and Target pledging to increase diversity, people of color, women in the technology and in the workforce in general. And so I'll have those links below too. These are fantastic numbers. I applaud this. Again, it's I'm not sure how to phrase this. I'm really tired of walking into rooms where like a lot of people look just like me. And so we need to be doing however we can to be, whether it's STEM in schools, also underserved communities, like it's a topic clearly in the front of my brain and I'm failing to articulate as well or as strongly or as maybe not politely as I want to. Just know that this is something that we all need to be thinking and working on right now. Speaking of diversity, equity, inclusion, roles are increasing in companies in town. Not surprising, right? Post the murder of George Floyd back in at the end of May, and the what do we call it now? Civil unrest, protests. This is the part, right, where I'm already struggling. By the way, I don't edit this stuff out, so this is just my mind stream, right? The civil protests. if you have, I'm writing a blog post for this week, and here's why my brain's so full on this stuff, because it's right here, it's in the front of my brain. I'm applauding the companies that are hiring these roles. I also question, why do these roles not previously exist? 2 is, if you did Blackout Tuesday on your personal or your company Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn accounts, but you haven't posted anything about this since, man, you're missing an opportunity. Not missing an opportunity, like, do something about it. Don't just post something once and then move on. Man, so much more I want. That needs to be something. I have some friends who I want to bring on as guests in the coming weeks, and this is one of the topics we're going to talk about. Anyway, I did a huge, awkward change. I did a webinar. I've been having conversations with companies all spring, summer. Here's what I would do right now if for you. Here's what I would do if I were you, recruiting in a pandemic. I appreciate that some companies have been in freezes. I appreciate that some companies are hiring more than. Here's the thing. The analogy I use for my recruiting HR friends is, back on January 6th of 2020, right, that first Monday of the first full week of the year, here's what was on our mind. We wanted to redo company career pages. We wanted to rewrite those crappy job descriptions. We wanted to engage with the hiring managers to see if we could, like, smooth out some rough spots or get them to move a little bit faster. All the things that we wanted to do but didn't have time to do, right, because recruiting was highly competitive in a lot of roles in a lot of ways. So what have you done since? You've had a bit of a break. For many of us, it's been a bit of a break, a slowdown. Like, I'm hoping those things were taken care of. And then here's what I would be doing going forward. So there's a webinar. There'll be a link to that. One of the blog posts I have followed up with is this. Again, whether you're a co-founder of a small startup, you're the VP of HR at a large company, whatever in between, HR generalist, if you haven't yet added COVID-19 content to your career page and job descriptions, like, what the hell are you doing? Or in this case, what the hell are you not doing? I don't mean to be confrontational. I don't mean to be like all crabby about it. But if someone were to call and recruit you today, if somebody were to say, hey, we're looking to add someone like you today, what's one of the first things you'd be curious about? You would be wondering about what was the transition to work from home? What is it like now? And when are you going back to the office if you are? That's what you would be wondering about if someone were trying to recruit you. So we should probably have this information material on our career pages. So again, there'll be a link to this. You can find more information about that. I know I sound like I'm ranting a lot, but by the way, this is how I know that this was long overdue, to be doing this in any sort of framework, be it video or as a podcast. It's just long overdue. For those of you who aren't aware, so I'm trying to be ahead of the curve now, right? I'm behind the curve for Startup Week. I want to get ahead of the curve for Mini Bar 15. Which will also be held over 2 weeks, 3 days each week. You can register now, and you can also submit proposals or submit for doing sessions. I'm submitting 2, heads up. One will be my usual, as I do every spring at Best Buy in April. I'm going to be doing I'm going to pitch. Can I do my IT career maintenance? And then brackets, why do recruiters suck so bad? I want to give a folks, like, here's where we are this fall. Here's what I'm expecting for 2021. And the second one is going to be how to recruit like a startup. Whether you are a startup or whether you want to recruit like one. Again, a presentation I've been doing for years at Minibar and other places. I think that it's a time for us to be doing a bit of a refresher course. As a part of that, I have not probably adequately enough been saying to folks, hey, like, if you're hiring and you want to have a conversation with me, like, let's do it. I want to have more conversations. This is how I nerd out. Sourcing, recruiting, hiring, right? Again, recruiting process, strategy, employer branding, be an advocate and evangelist for technology, or for companies in the technology and business community. If you've got a particular thing you're working on, a particular frustration you're having, something that you're thinking about for Q4 for 2021, I want to have these conversations. Below, you'll find the link to Calendly. Schedule a phone call with me, and in there is a question about, like, what's the thing that you're thinking about, or what's the thing you're facing. Would love to have those conversations. I've also done a really poor job, apparently, because everyone thinks that I've been maxed out working over the last weeks and months, and it's been half, sometimes 30%, sometimes more than that. I've been trying to read in these days and times. Coming into 2020, I was already doing this anyway, and more so now with COVID-19, the shutdown, the pandemic, all this stuff. I've been trying to reimagine how I can better help companies grow their teams. And so traditionally in the past, right, it was 3 and 6 month projects, and it was some version of, again, the source, recruit, hire, process, strategy, be an evangelist, advocate, technology, business community. I just know that like the back of my hand. But I've had some CEOs saying, hey, I just need a coach. I need like 2 hours a week, or I need 2 90-minute sessions a month, or can like redo the career pages, redo those job descriptions and stuff. Here's the deal. If you're either like, if you need a hand, just reach out to me. Can we do it that way? By the way, this pains me to say things like this. I don't like promoting me in this way. I don't like asking for business. It just dawns on me that I've done a really poor, or as Kurt Schmidt from Founder gave me a different word, I've done a crappy job of doing this. So this slide's dedicated to him particularly. If you have news you want shared in this format, you've hired someone, you're going to be hiring, you've got something going on, like if you're sponsoring a new event, like I want to expand what I'm doing here. But again, first episode debut, episode 1, this is what we're getting. We're coming up on 32 some minutes. It's not going to last more than about another 3 minutes at most. If you've got news you want shared, send it to me. Send me an email, paul@mnheadhunter.com. But I'm looking for things like the Total Expert CMO. I'm looking for, we're hiring. I'm looking for our so-and-so is speaking at Minibar. I would gladly promote those things. Okay. Oh, funding announcements, things like that. So here are my future topics. I'm super excited. I don't know how to do this one yet. I'm going to see if I can get Casey Allen to come back on with me. I want to talk about the JM5PO. If you listen to the MSP on Deck podcast, you are ad nauseum aware that I always call it Minneapolis, St. Paul, the tech scene needed to spike the football moment, right? We got the ball across the end zone. Well, not they, but by extension, us, the fans in the stands. We got a touchdown. We got to spike it, but it happened during COVID. And so I want to talk more about why it matters. I have a bunch of reasons why I think it matters. I'm hoping Casey will jump on with me. I may have another person I want to reach out to. Remote hiring is going to be a topic coming up. The idea that a lot of companies in town now, right, didn't do remote hiring before. You didn't have work from home before. We're going to talk a little bit more about some tips and tricks and ways, best practices to be able to do those. There's a lot of coastal companies hiring or recruiting here now, right? You've probably seen like VMware. Are now, if like if their employees are leaving the Bay Area to go somewhere else, they're adjusting salaries. But they're also, while some people are vacating an exodus of the Bay Area, they're also doing more recruiting and hiring now in other regions of the country, including Minneapolis, St. Paul. I'm going to talk a little bit about in the future episode about proactive job search for 2021. I would love to know what you would like to hear. This is the part where frequently at an event, right, I'll be like, what's in my brain that would be of some help to you that I can share with you that'll be of some help. I want to get way more active than I've been over these, not even just these past months, but the last year or two. So that's it. Less than 35 minutes, episode 1. Reach out to me. Say hi on LinkedIn. I don't have a fishing report because I haven't caught any fish in the last 2 weeks. Might be the end of the season for where I'm situated on the dock out here. But I'm in full bore sunset view because now the sun has gone sadly further south. And I'm going to be a little bit more active on Twitter as well. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening. You got some ideas, you got some things you want to talk about, send me a note. I don't have any intro music or exit music yet. I don't think I'm going to. It seems a little too formal for me. But anyway, I hope that as we get into this fall season that you and your family are safe, happy, and well as can be. So thank you for hanging out with me and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.